Hello everybody and welcome to Adobe Live. My name is Flynn and we would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we are streaming and creating today and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. I'm very excited for today because we're finally, for the first time, really talking about the amazing app which is Adobe Express here in Asia Pacific. But I'm going to need some help. So I would like to introduce my buddy, Kitiya Palaskas, and I can't find my little talking heads thing, so we'll bring this up for the moment. Hey Kit, how you doing?
Hi, Flynn. I'm so stoked to be here. Really excited about this session. Great to be here again with you.
It's so much fun. Yeah, we've been chatting about doing like some Adobe Express stuff, and then lo and behold, all these announcements happen at the same time. So it's like, well, let's get Kit on. Let's do this. We're going to do a live stream kind of today, stepping through some of the updates and things like that. Some of the new toys. We won't be able to cover everything because there's actually so much stuff going on. But we've spread it out over two. So we're actually going to be back with Kit next Friday, which is super cool. But Kit, for those who are not familiar with your work, do you want to give us a bit of a rundown on who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. I will show you as I'm talking. So you've got some pretty pictures to look at my website. So some of you that are joining us today may already know my work, or maybe we've worked together before. But if you don't, my name is Kitiya Palaskas. Like Flynn said, I am a craft-based designer. I run a studio called Kitiya Palaskas Studio, very original name. And we specialize in prop and installation design, digital content creation, creative workshop and event facilitation, and also craft-based illustration as well. So I'm scrolling through some of the work that we've done before. I've been running the studio, or I've been running my business for 13 years now, about 2 as a creative studio, and then the rest as a solo freelance designer. And we specialize in commercial design projects for clients all over the world. And I guess you can tell by what you're looking at here that our work is really characterized by super colorful, bold silhouettes, playful, a bit fun, a bit silly. And we love to showcase and celebrate handmade in everything that we do, and really just show that craft and craft-based techniques have a place in the commercial design world. That's kind of like, I guess, our guiding mission, or our value, our main value as a creative studio. I am also an Adobe Express ambassador. So I've been an Adobe Express ambassador since 2019. And so I have been through all the iterations of this amazing app. And so I'm really excited to share with you today how you can use Adobe Express to really, I guess, complement your work as a creative professional, and how you can kind of use it to improve your design and your marketing and your business workflows, and just really show you all the exciting stuff that has come through in the brand new Adobe Express desktop app.
Yeah, awesome. Wow, your elevator pitch of who you are and what you guys do is like perfect. You're like, this is what we do. This is why we do it. This is the journey. Man, that was tight. Well done.
Oh, thanks. That's really, that makes me feel really happy, because I used to be so bad at that. And then I would have to like turn to a colleague and make them say it for me. So now
that's a good trick. Yeah. I used to do that with bios as well. I'm like, I don't know how to describe myself. Can you write this for me? Works a treat.
Well, that's people actually recommend that, because someone close to you or a friend or something, because they know you, but they're not like, they might not be, super into what you're doing, and then they can really kind of tell the story from a third person point of view.
There you go. We're already throwing out tips. Check it out. Haven't even started the whole thing. Yeah, do we want to talk a little bit about what some of the announcements were for Express?
Yeah, well, I guess first of all, maybe we should rewind just a little bit, because there may be folks joining us today that aren't familiar with what Adobe Express does. And so if that's you, I'll just give you another elevator pitch about how I would describe, I guess, Adobe Express to someone that hasn't heard of it before. So I would call it an all-in-one design app that really combines your favorite and the most powerful tools from all your other favorite Adobe programs in the Creative Cloud suite into like a really streamlined, all-in-one and easy to use platform. So that's kind of how I describe it when I talk about it. Obviously, it's so much more than that, as we'll find out. But I guess if you're thinking about is Adobe Express something that I could use day to day in my creative, like professional creative workflow, or my just creative art practice, who I think it's really good for. There's a few different types of people. So obviously creative professionals who really want to streamline their design and marketing workflows. So that's like someone like me. Small business owners who really want an easy way to create like marketing assets, logos, etc., without compromising on design quality. A lot of small business owners may not have those design skills that a lot of us creative professionals do have. And so Adobe Express really allows you to be a designer without necessarily having like a design education or experience designing your own things, which I think is really cool. But then also designers, makers, artists who may already use, who may not use some of the more, I guess, like older school OG programs or tools like Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, After Effects regularly, but they still want the functionality of those programs, but they may not necessarily like know how to use them yet. And they just kind of want to experiment, play, have fun, because they really just love design and they want to see where it can take them, and they want to be creative without having to like learn an entire thing like Photoshop.
Yeah.
So that's kind of who I think it's good for. But yeah, let's you know what I might do now, if you are keen to come along, I might give you a little bit of a tour of the new desktop dashboard and show you some of my favorite features that I think would be really helpful to us as creative professionals.
All right, let's do it. Let's check it out.
Okay, so here we are in the Adobe Express dashboard. Now, this is a desktop app. There will be a new mobile app coming soon. So if you are really inspired by what you see today and you want to give it a go, just know that all these brand new features will soon be available on mobile as well. Okay, so let's just take a quick look here. As you can already see, it kind of gives you all these different starting points that you might need. So perhaps you want to create a video for your social media. Maybe you want to create some assets. You might want to edit or prepare a photo for more designing later on. You can create documents, and you can also kind of like do a lot of marketing things within here too. So I'm going to show you that in a minute. All of the custom size things, like in a lot of the other Adobe tools, are already like loaded up and like available to you to start from. So it gives you kind of like
super convenient. Yeah, like how I'm so terrible at remembering dimensions and stuff like that, and it's like, what's an Instagram post? And I'm like, I
have everything written like on a post-it note by my computer, like
I have
an
a
old
doc. Yeah, I have a page in Notion that's just like, you use this stuff all the time. You have to save it somewhere. But
yeah,
it's nice that you could just open something and be like, cool, it's the right dimension.
Yes, and the great thing about this is, as you might know if you have made your own social media posts before, like the sizing of things change all the time with all these different apps.
Yeah.
So it's great because these will always be updated to the right size. So that's good.
That's good.
Here are some really exciting things which are brand new to the new version of Adobe Express. So these are some generative AI tools, which we're going to dive into a little bit later, but you can basically use the power of Adobe Firefly to create imagery and text effects for your designs, which I think is super exciting. I've just started getting into the world of AI myself after sort of umming and ahhing and trying to work out like how I could use it for my personal brand. And so I'm using it now as like in the concepting phase, using it to kind of generate ideas of how the things that I make in 3D are going to look. So every time I see something that integrates Firefly in some way, I get really excited. So these are some great features that we will be looking at.
I love hearing how, just jumping in really quickly, I love hearing how different artists like kind of figuring out like, where does this work within my current creative workflow? Like not so much as like, oh, this is going to replace my job or something, but it's like, okay, how can I use this in like a convenient, like nice way? And that's a great way. That's storyboarding. I've also seen some other great ways to see it, but that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about this for ages. I think it's really great too. It makes me feel a bit like more at ease knowing that Firefly draws from Adobe stock, so all ethical. So that's been something that was a consideration for me at the start, but now I kind of feel more comfortable with. But yeah, like it's not going away. And so if we can kind of look at it as an experimentation and a growth kind of opportunity rather than a like, you're taking my job, I think that's the best way to go about it, you know?
Me too. Yeah.
Also down here, there are some like quick actions. So if you are perhaps not sure what you exactly want to do, these are some of the most, I guess, go-to things that people might look for when they jump into Adobe Express. So, you know, you can convert something to a PNG or a PDF, you can generate a QR code for yourself, you can do video editing. So that's like, if you don't know where to start, this is a good place to look. Also, one of the biggest features, I think, are all of these templates, which we'll look at in more detail later. Pre-designed. So there's a team of really amazing designers at Adobe Express. I'll just show you some of these things that create these really high quality, I hate using this term, but I'm going to use it, on trend,
Yeah.
you know, like fresh contemporary design templates that you can work from. So it's great. You know, for me, I am a creative professional, but I wouldn't consider myself like a graphic designer. And I don't know the rules about typography, kerning, all that kind of stuff, or like, you know, layout.
Right.
I actually find it quite challenging to design my assets. So, but I know I can adapt things with my own sort of illustrative motifs once given a base to do so. So that's what these templates are really, really good for.
That's cool. I really like that idea. Like, that, you know, that's like, there's like a section that either not interested in, or it's a struggle, or it's a challenge, or we don't have time for, or whatever it is. We still need to produce assets, right? It's like, I can't remember who we had on, but we had on someone recently, and they were like incredible design, except for when it came to type. And they were like, yeah, type, I'm just not. Oh, it was for something else that we're doing for Max. But they were like, they're an incredible artist, but they're like, yeah, when it comes to type, I'm just not very good at it. So if you look at my work, there's actually not very much type. And it's like, wow, I didn't realize they're just,
you just never know.
Type. Yeah.
I mean, everyone's got their strength. And the thing
Totally.
I guess I like about Adobe Express is that you can lean on their tools if there's one area that you're not so great at. You know, like maybe you love designing your own assets and you'll do so from scratch, and you can do that in here as well. But like, if you don't, like me, and you're like, oh, I'm not quite sure how to make this look good enough to put out in the world, then you can use these. Another thing that I wanted to show you, which is really handy as a creative professional, is this brand tool. So you can upload, here's my little branded section. You can upload all your brand logos, all your colors, your fonts, and any kind of graphics or icons, and also create templates here that you might use on a regular basis for different marketing purposes. So this is really handy because when you are in the editing dashboard of any design project within Adobe Express, it'll automatically bring up all your colors and your fonts, and you can just drop your logos and stuff in with the click of a button. So it makes it really, you know, as a design studio, we are always like looking for ways to streamline our workflows as a studio without compromising on like design quality, because the thing that we do that makes us money is the creative part. So if we can like, you know, streamline everything else to make stuff really easy for ourselves without making it, you know, without compromising on the design and the look, then great, we will do so. And so a tool like this brand tool is really useful for that. Okay, so some other things that are really great that I will mention before we dive into actually making something together. So in this new iteration of Adobe Express, there is the ability to, I'm calling it like the linked assets tool. So you can actually, if you're working on something in Photoshop or Illustrator, you can actually bring it in and take it out of Adobe Express with the click of a button, and have any files, that PSD or AI files that you're working on in those other programs, update automatically in your Adobe.
It's like linked, kind of live linked.
Yeah, so if you have, so let me just show you real quick. If you have, this is a design I was working on yesterday. It's for a social media tile, and I actually just posted a reel about it on my Instagram if you want to see the process in action, but I will also be talking about this in more detail in our next session. Nice. Spoiler alert. So
beautiful.
I worked on this papercraft motif in Photoshop, and I decided to add a drop shadow, and it updated automatically in this file in Adobe Express. So I didn't have to upload a new version and have all these multiple versions floating around, which we all know is really annoying, especially if you're like collaborating with other people on your team, or you're trying to send your client the most updated file of something, for example. Then being able to have this real-time updating is like really good I think. Also, there's really, really powerful video editing tools. So you could technically create all your reels, all your TikTok videos, etc., within Adobe Express now, because of these powerful editing tools. So it really pulls in those like great parts of Premiere Pro, and allows you to like do them really easily for, you know, short form content, which is really great. And also there's really strong and powerful like document creation tools now. So you can create presentations for like speaking at a conference, for example, or PDF documents to send to clients. You can create your proposal documents, your return briefs, and all of those things that we usually have to do when we're working with clients. So
that's awesome.
Those are some of the features that I like really love.
Yeah, the video stuff is pretty crazy. Like video in the browser, like I feel like I kind of blinked like a year or two ago, and then suddenly we can do video in the browser, which is pretty wild.
It's so cool. And you know, if you're just not just, but if you are solely just creating short form video content as a content creator, or you know, to market your small business, and you don't need the full functionality of Premiere Pro, then this is really great, because it will give you all the things you need to create that stuff without, again, I'm probably going to say this a lot, like without compromising on the quality of it, or you know, sometimes in some of the more, I guess, like the sort of video editing things, or the in-app video editing things that we've been working with before this, sometimes you miss out on certain types of tools or ways to edit that like you get frustrated by, because you're like, oh, if I just did that in Premiere Pro, I could have all these other things, but now you can have all of them in a really streamlined way here. So that's cool.
One convenient spot too. Hey, I've just got 2 quick questions. You ready for some questions from chat?
Yeah. Sure.
So Johanna's asking, was wondering how easy it is to get started using this new version of Express if you're already set up in the previous version.
Oh, okay. Yeah, great question. Thanks for asking that. That just reminded me that there was something that I wanted to talk about in that realm. So let's chat about it now. Johanna, you are awesome. So it's really easy to, so Creative Cloud has kept all of your like old files. Right. So I'll give you a little, I'll show you. So down here, you'll see that it says, looking for files created with the prior version of Adobe Express. We got you. And then you click on it and it will bring up all of the other design files that you might have created in the older versions of the desktop app. And then all you have to really do is just like hover your mouse over. So this is everything that I've sort of created over time. Hover your mouse over, and it also has your folders if you created them within Adobe Express before. It'll show them too. Oh, yeah. You just put move file and it ends up just opening it up in this originals folder here. And then you can refile it as you need. Right. So in terms of accessing all the old stuff, none of it is lost. You just have to migrate it in, but it's just the click of a button. And also that sort of brings me to talk about, and also just to backtrack a bit, in terms of functionality, all of the things that you would have used before within Adobe Express are still here. I think that the main difference is really there's been all this cool stuff added in. Right. So you'll still be able, it's still, you know, yes, there's been enhancements and improvements, I guess, to the workflows of editing, the editing dashboard and stuff like that. But basically, I think if you won't have to relearn anything with this new version. You just have to learn or explore the fun new stuff instead.
Yeah, got it.
It's really streamlined. And I will also say, we were talking about this just before the stream, that if you really want to take advantage of, I guess, like the new features in particular, like the linked assets tool with Photoshop and Illustrator, just make sure that you've updated like your Creative Cloud. You know how you can go into Creative Cloud and it'll show you what needs updating. Yep. Just make sure you've updated Illustrator and Photoshop, and also that you've, I did this, it's old school, but I just restarted my computer after I made all the updates.
If in doubt,
psychologically
unplug it and plug it back.
Yeah, turn it off and on again. Isn't that what they say in that show, IT Crowd?
Yeah.
I noticed that when I was trying to access that, linked assets tool that I'm going to talk about next session, that it didn't give me the option. And then I went into Creative Cloud and saw that I hadn't updated Photoshop since 2022. Yeah. So once I'd done that and then shut everything down and reopened it again, all the functionality was there. So if you encounter that, like I did, that's a workaround. Just make sure that your other programs are updated.
I feel like an IT dad with so many people that come on the stream. Like, you need to get, it's August, okay? 2022 was a long time ago. You need to get your files updated. That's great. My guess is that there's quite a lot of technology happening behind the scenes to make all this stuff work, like to be able to allow Chrome or a browser to actually read a linked Photoshop file. There's probably some pretty crazy nerdy tech happening in the background to make that happen. So it makes sense that you need to upgrade things, because some changes have happened since
I thought you were about to ask me a question about that, and I was like,
no, I wouldn't do it.
I know nothing about that.
I've got a question that I think is much more up your alley. This is a great question from Alessandra, and then we'll get back to our tour. Alessandra asks, when and how did you find your colors for your brand, and how did you feel when it happened?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, my favorite color is pink. So I always knew when I was creating my brand identity that pink had to be part of it. And for a long time, I've worked with some combination of pink and red or pink and orange, because that's my favorite color combo. I think it's like, they just look so good together. So over the years of my brand identity shifted, I've rebranded a couple of times, but there's always been those two main colors. So I knew that in this current iteration of my branding, that pink and that ready orange were going to be the hero colors. And then I basically just chose a few of my other favorite colors that I thought would work really well, and work really well in all different combos with each other. So I love lilac. That's basically the entire color of the outfit I wore at my wedding. I love it. And so I was like, definitely got to be part of it. Looks really good with pink, looks really good with orange. And then I was like, we need a kind of darker color so we can have, bold headlines or maybe text without using black in things. And so we added in the sort of darker blue. And then I thought we need some kind of like cool modern color. Let's use chartreusey green, like lime green, because I think it's kind of an ugly color sometimes when mixed with things, but I kind of love that.
Right.
And then we realized that black actually does look good with all of these colors. And so we use black for our sort of header text a lot now, but it was kind of trial and error. And just really looking at the color combinations together and seeing how I felt about them. And if I thought, oh, that makes me feel uncomfortable, or that I'm really vibing on that. Yeah. I think it's all about just looking and being like, how do I feel?
So it's a lot of feel. Yeah. Okay, cool. Very good. We're going to be chatting a little bit more in detail about branding and stuff like that next week as well. So we might, if there's, feel free to ask questions. That's an awesome question, Alessandra, but we'll probably cover some more of that stuff too on Friday if you're keen for more stuff like that.
I love talking about that kind of stuff. So yeah, keen to
do a whole session on color. Yeah.
Literally, I could talk about it all day. Yeah. But okay, so what I thought we could do now is all pretend that we work at my studio, and we are going to design a promotional flyer together in Express to advertise an upcoming creative workshop. And as we go, I will dive deeper into like some of the features that I just mentioned, and we'll get to know them a bit better together. And you'll really get to see the capabilities of this cool tool. So
sounds good.
We're gonna start off back at the dashboard. I'm going to work from a template because I think that's a really great way to kind of start learning all the ins and outs of Adobe Express. So because we're creating a flyer, you can use templates for all these other things as different things. There's no rules here. Like really just...
It doesn't have to be a flyer at the end, right?
Yeah. No, not at all. And like take what they give you and make it your own. I think that's the magic of this tool. I keep wanting to say program, tool, app. So I might, maybe I'll call it like an app or a program, because we'll be talking about like tools within.
Yeah. I struggle with that too. I call, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'll say app or program.
Use everything. Yeah.
So I might just, for the sake of this exercise, start off in the flyer section and see what's available in terms of designs. There's so many cool ones, but let's scroll down. I saw this one earlier and I really like this. It kind of replicates the kind of bold aesthetic that we usually go for in our design assets at the studio. And it also has like a lot of block colors, which I can see my brand colors working in. And we work with a lot of these sorts of like graphic shapes, like arches, scalloped edge things and stuff like that. So this is really appealing to me.
Nice.
So you just click on it to open it up. I'm going to skip the tour.
You are the tour.
I am the tour. So this is the, I guess, like asset editing panel. So a couple of things about this to kind of show you around a little bit. So first of all, on the left, you have, I guess, like your main kind of tools. So you can add stuff from your own brand folder, from your own files you've uploaded, or from your own Creative Cloud libraries. So if you use Creative Cloud libraries to store assets, you can access them all from within Adobe Express, which is really handy, especially when you're working, cross collaboratively with people. And you'll see up here that you can add other people in to be editing in real time the same design together, which I think is quite common across all of the Adobe programs. You can also access media here, whether it be your stuff or whether it be from Adobe stock. So you have full access here to Adobe stock in whatever subscription you kind of have with them. And also I will say that this Adobe Express Premium is available in most Creative Cloud subscriptions. So, have a look. You might already have it in your subscription, but also that the free version is really, really in-depth and amazing too. So you're not really missing out on too much if you don't have a subscription to Premium. So it's also really great to use to experiment with Adobe Express, the free version, if you want to give it a go before you try before you buy kind of thing. This is where we can add text, and we'll be working on that a bit later. So there's all sorts of design assets. There's shapes, icons, backgrounds, and all these things like actual collageable things, motifs, drawings, illustrations, textures, that kind of stuff. So we can explore that in a bit as well. And then here on the left is the layers panel. So you can actually move, your layers up and down. You can scroll up and down and access everything that you need and control, I guess, where it's at. And it's right there on the right-hand side, really easy for you to access at all times. And then on the bottom, we won't be using this today, but if you were creating a video or I guess an animated thing that you want to turn into a reel or something like that, this is your timeline. You might recognize this kind of format from opening up, I guess, the animations window in Photoshop, for example. Yeah. Or the timeline window.
That's something I really like. It's very familiar, isn't it? You're on the right-hand side is your layers, in Photoshop, and down the bottom is the timeline, in Photoshop or Premiere or After Effects. It's all very familiar.
Yeah, and I love that. Actually, that's one of my favorite things about Adobe in general, is that you don't have to relearn every time you open a new program.
Yeah.
And they've really thought about that. So it's intuitive. So I'm just going to close that for now because we're not going to use that just now. So I think the first thing that we're going to do is I can see here from this template that there is a paper texture background. So you can kind of see that as I move along. That's overlaid on top of everything to give it the, I guess, look of being, I guess, a paper poster. But I don't really want to mess with that just yet. So, except I might change it to a light pink. I'm kind of going to go through this as if this is what I would do. If you have other suggestions as we go along that you think might look better, tell me, because then it could be a fun collaborative process.
Okay, let us know. So, here we go. You can,
you can weigh in. Yeah, we're co-designing. So as you can see, anytime I want to open up any kind of or customize a color for anything, it'll bring up all these options for me. So for starters, you can customize it to whatever you want, like you can in other Adobe programs, but also it'll pull colors from the existing design and suggest them to you so that you can always stay on aesthetically cohesive. But then it will also bring up your brand colors too, which I think is really cool.
That's convenient.
Yeah, so convenient. But I think what we're going to go for today is something that's sort of similar to my brand pink, but a lot lighter, because I think I'd like to use the brand pink elsewhere in the design later. So I'm just kind of picking something that I kind of like the look of, because pink is a vibe for me. And if you hate pink, then I'm so sorry, but you're going to have to look at it.
This is not the stream for you.
This is not the project.
Wrong, but it's just maybe not right for this today. Yeah.
And because this is over the top, I know that when I go to click on other things, it's gonna be pulling from this large thing that's over the top of everything. So I'm actually just going to drag it to the bottom just for now, just because I want to get it out the way and not have it kind of interfere with other things. And I'm also going to lock it. So if you want to lock it, up here on the left in the image panel, you can do that. But I will just show you really quickly some of the editing options that are available to you with any image background or any kind of like visual thing that you might want to change the look of. And I guess this is where utilizing some of the tools from Photoshop is real. This is where this magic happens. So obviously you can crop, you can erase things, you can adjust the opacity of that layer. There are all these blend tools which you might be familiar with.
Oh, yeah, you got multiply, screen, awesome.
Yeah, so pick your favorite one. I really like multiply. I think it's great.
Like 90% of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, literally. You can set it as the background of the page, which will lock it in place. You can flip it around, etc. So if you have an image that you want to use as the page background instead, you can set it with this button here. So then there's a bunch of different effects as well. So like, let's just say you don't feel like you have a strong idea of color theory or things like that. These options really give you some suggestions as to how to further customize, I guess, the look of the image that you're using without needing to know, I guess, what you're doing. And then this is sort of similar to the basic editing tools within Photoshop. You can adjust saturation, warmth, tone, shadows, highlights, contrast, brightness, etc. So really just go in deep with customizing each individual element, which is cool. And then this is something we're going to look at next week. So I'm not going to show you too much about it now, but there is this animation panel and we're really going to explore how magical and fun that is next week. So that was just a little teaser that's coming.
Plug. Nice.
Yes. But what we're going to do right now is just lock this because I don't want that to move around and interfere with the rest of my editing. So if you wanted, you could change. Actually, you know what? I have decided I'm going to unlock it because let's just say you're like, okay, I like this background texture, but maybe I want it to maybe look a bit more like, let's just say crumpled paper or something like that. Mm-hmm. Let's go into this media section here. You can go into photos or you could go into elements. Like there's a lot of places to search for things, but let's just look up like paper, see what comes up. So you can see here that there's that many results for paper.
Wow, okay.
And so anything that has a little crown next to it is what you can access in the premium, but you'll see as we go through that so many things don't have that. So you can access it with the free version too. So I want to choose a paper background that maybe has a bit more texture. I kind of like the look of this one. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's clearer to see, I think, if we're going for something.
Yeah, so let's pop that in and I'll show you kind of like what we can do with it. So let's close that down. So once it's selected, you can obviously like do all the sort of editing things. You can, manually change stuff around. You can make it bigger, smaller. So let's just have a go. So I think I want it to be the same background color. I think I want it to replace what I was using before actually. So is it
recommended throwing that color that you picked before?
Yes, it is.
Oh, that's cool.
I know. I think it's really good. Is it letting me click it though?
So I do that all the time. I like pick a color or something and then I'll end up having to color drop it, or you know what I mean, and make my own little boxes on the side in Photoshop or something.
Yeah, so I've just made that have a multiply effect and I've actually just put it on top and I kind of like that actually. I'm into like that double grain. So I think I might just keep it that way. It's a bit more interesting, adds a bit more texture to the background. Obviously you'll see as we design this, I really like handmade textures because that's what I do as my job. So I'm always looking for ways to make things look more handmade and crafty.
Well, you're the designer and the client, right? The brief was we're designing in your studio and it's something along with your brand. So it makes lots of sense.
We are. Okay, so we've locked those. So now I want to play around with some of these shapes and make them feel a little bit more like Kitiya Palaskas Studio. So we use a lot of scalloped archway kind of shapes in our website and like in our social media assets and things like that. So I might change this particular one to make it match a little bit more so people really recognize it as like a Kitiya Palaskas Studio poster. So you'll see here that these shapes were made up of 3 individual shapes. Now, if you want to find those, you can go to this elements section here and like just have a quick look at all of this stuff that you can access. So there's textures, overlays, illustrations, frames, elements, brushes, and you can search for other things like, you know, paint splatter, etc. There's also different kinds of backgrounds. If you want if you want this program to design the background for you, and there's shapes, which is where I think that these ones in our design have been pulled from. There's also icons. So these are all licensed for commercial use. So you can use them. You can even design logos and stuff with them. Wow. So if you are designing your logo within Adobe Express, know that everything that you use within here has a commercial license. So you are safe. Yeah. And it's ethical, I guess, in terms of like where these are being sourced from. And the great thing about the icons is that you can change the color of any of them. So they don't have to just be black. So you can match them to your design. So I think that's really cool. So that's the elements panel. I encourage you to jump in there and have a look because you could be in there for hours, but we're not gonna.
It seems to be just so much stuff in there. Like
it's like it's like a Pandora's box, or like it's like being in a maze and you turn around and all of a sudden all these other paths are opening up to you. Like it's really So okay, I'm just going to make a more Kitiya Palaskas vibe scallopy kind of shape here.
Can you describe what a scallop shape is? What does that mean?
Like, you know, like the awning of a cute French cafe.
I do. Yeah. Okay.
That vibe. I'm going to make something that looks like that.
Was like
that.
Perfect. Yeah. I totally understand what you mean.
Yeah. So you can also use your keyboard shortcut. So I just did Command C, Command V. If you're a shortcutty person, a lot of the shortcuts will help you out here too. That's like the only shortcut that I know. I'm just not that girl. So there's my little scallopy awning. I'm going to group that again and then make sure that I have pulled it below the text so that we can see that like detailed text, which we're going to edit a bit later on.
Nice.
So, I mean, I think that just is a little bit more me. And then this one is not really something that I'm vibing on. So I actually want to change that. I'm going to use an oval. So we're going to go in here to the circles options and pick an oval. And it just dumps it in there. And then you can change the color. So I'm going to change it to like, I don't know, maybe the blue of my brand for now. We're going to change everything kind of to suit my brand a little bit more in a minute. But yeah, you can just slot that in where it needs to go.
Nice.
Drag that down. Okay. Also, like with each of these, you'll see that there is like this editing panel for each of the shapes as well. You can create a border and choose what color you want it to be. You can change the thickness, the opacity, the blend, and you can add animations to each of these elements as well. So it's kind of like a Pandora's box, like we were saying, because there's multiple options for editing each individual element, which I think is really cool. Okay, so let's just change a couple of these colors now to sort of match the brand. We'll just do that really easily by selecting them and then giving them my treatment through the brand tool. I want to make sure I group that one again. And then this one's kind of already similar to my brand purple, but I'm just going to be really OCD about it and change it anyway. And then what I'm thinking is that I want to include my my logo in here just because we want people to know that it's Kitiya Palaskas Studio that's running this workshop. So I think that rather than have text here, I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm actually going to swap this scallop out for this because I don't really love this hexagon personally. So
is it because it's like rigid sides a little bit
yeah. And it's like, I don't know, it's like a long geometric shape and I don't know, I'm just not vibing on it. So I've just switched that over. So now I think I want to put my logo in here. So you can go to your stuff, brands and libraries, and then it'll bring up all your libraries, it'll bring up all your different brand folders. So I'm just going to jump in here, and we might just start off with, I might change this later, but we might just start off with like my colored full logo, and see where we end up as the design more.
Drop it in as a PNG or something, or dropped it in with the background as transparent, which is really cool.
Yeah. And there's also a really handy background remove tool as well. So see that, remove background.
Yeah.
So any kind of picture that it's actually really, really intuitive as to how it picks what to remove. And it's really good. So you can create collage effects, and you don't have to be sitting there highlighting everything with the magic wand tool and making sure that it's perfect. It'll just do it for you. So, we love that, the streamlining the workflow thing. So that's something to play around with as well. Okay, so what are we going to do next? I think we're going to sort of, I think I might like move these lines around a little bit just to like better fit the logo in. I've noticed that this one's a really long one, so let's just make it shorter by dragging it and then popping it over there, because I think that I want this event to be called Craft Club at the Pub.
Oh my God.
I
would love to go to Craft Club at the Pub.
Right, me too.
Awesome.
Maybe I should make this a real thing and invite everyone. So let's just type that in now. And a great new feature that wasn't previously available is the ability to double click on any text and edit in the design, like on the design, whereas before you would have had to have put it
you put it in the side, right? Yeah, that was a bit harder to kind of wrap your head around at the start.
I don't know if you remember this from Adobe Max last year, Flynn, but when there was a big, in Sneaks, which is a session that shows everything that's coming up, there was this big Adobe Express feature, and they mentioned this and everyone cheered.
Yeah. And I was like, I obviously don't use Adobe Express enough, because I was like, wow, that's a feature that I think everybody here
we
wanted.
All cheered because we were like, yes, this is what we've been wanting.
That's amazing.
So such nerds for Adobe Express.
That's so good. Hey, also, you're speaking at Adobe Max this year.
I am doing a what is the correct term for my session? A
breakout session.
A breakout session, which will be streaming as part of the digital program you'll be able to access it everywhere, but it's for Asia Pacific region, so our region. And it's actually kind of about some similar topics to this. It's up online now in the program, I believe, right? So you'll be able to kind of go and add it to your, if you're attending the digital conference, you'll be able to add it to your favorites so that you can attend. I'm really going to be diving into like how Adobe Express can enhance your life as a creative professional, because I just feel so strongly about, I guess, helping other creative professionals lead their best like businessy lives, so that we can allow more time to be creative and without letting the like day-to-day runnings of our businesses kind of take over our entire schedule. So
that's it, right? Isn't it? Yeah, because you do find that when you get into the pointy end of running a business or anything, that you really want to try and spend as much time as you can on the craft. And I don't mean it necessarily even just in your case, like actually creating, like even if you're just a pure
creative
designer,
practice.
Your creative practice, the creative bit. If you're a photographer, you want to be shooting, you want to be, all that sort of stuff. Anything you can do to get like time back to allow you to create more content or be more creative or practice or play is always a good thing.
I think so too. And like, but when you are doing things for your business, you still want to be able to tap into creativity somehow. And actually, I think that's why this is such a great platform or app to use, because like you do get to be creative when, like, I'm here designing a poster to promote something, but I'm still being creative while doing it. And it's fun. Like, I love just tinkering around in here, changing colors, like, experimenting with new fonts and stuff like that. I think it's really fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Me too.
Like, make the work stuff more fun, I say.
I like that. That's your quote.
So let's talk about text for a minute, because there's so much that you can kind of do in terms of editing text. So you know how we were talking before about how, like, I don't feel like I know anything about typography or kerning or any of the rules or anything like that.
Yeah, you said that, but the distancing between like the gaps and everything, in between all the text on the corners and everything, you're like helping my like OCD a little bit by doing everything perfectly there. So don't think I didn't notice that you're perfectly justifying everything in the middle.
Well, you can actually it's doing it for me. Have you seen like it's got the guide?
Snapping in.
See that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I
So
was
it's
like,
not
man,
me.
it's really good.
It's not me, it's Adobe Express. And then you can
Okay.
also like align things much like you can in other Adobe programs too.
Right.
You
Okay,
can get
cool.
really like you could align everything if you wanted. But okay, so there's all these different types of text lockup. So let's just view some. So if you need some inspiration and you're not sure what font you want to go with or anything like that, you can actually just browse through all these iterations of lockups or styles based on using all of the Adobe font library. And as we know, there's like thousands and thousands of fonts in the Adobe font library. So you could just be at it forever. You can also access them via here. You'll see that I've got my brand fonts loaded in, but also there are other fonts that I've uploaded as well that have to do with my brand that I use sometimes. So they all come up here for you. So you can actually just access them really easily. So if you want to make them like really you, and then just scroll through. I mean, this is another like Pandora's box, the Adobe font library, I think, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy. And like the fonts that are there aren't even like anywhere near close to how many there are. Like you can go
So they've given you hundreds, but then you can go to more fonts and open up the whole library and find all the other ones and then load them in so that they're always in here when you need them.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And so then you can so you can just have like a plain layout, or you can create something that's more dynamic. So it'll like this is if you're kind of not really great at typography and perhaps it's kind of hard to see with just like one word, but like it will. Let's try it on this one. Yeah, so it'll kind of like create a little lockup for you of that's designed and that it's all perfectly laid out and everything like that. So then you can change, obviously you can create an outline on your text. You can change the color of your text. You can change the opacity of your text, add a drop shadow, put it in a shape. So there's all these different options here if you want to make it look fancy or have a little bit of like extra flair. We'll look at those next time as well. And there's
some of those things look new to me.
Some of them are new, yeah. And then you can also animate your text as well. But what I actually want to just really quickly show you towards the end of this session right now is this exciting thing. So text effects. This is where generative AI comes into Adobe Express. Like I showed you at the start, you can generate, your own imagery and your own text effects. So we're going to play around with generating like a text effect for this using AI right now. So
just before we jump into it, can I just ask a quick question just from chat?
Yes.
Do you always, as from Thomas, thanks for the question, Thomas, do you always use Adobe Express as your font manager?
I would say yes, because this is where I create most of my assets for all of our socials and marketing and stuff. So I do, because everything is in here already. Cool. And then I can just design with it. But also I'm going to admit to you, Thomas, I don't know what a font manager is. So, like a place that all my fonts are stored?
I guess so. I mean, I guess with Creative Cloud, it follows you wherever you go. So I would probably use it, in Illustrator most of the time. But I often go to the website to see, because I find that Adobe Fonts is better in the way that it will send the quick brown fox jumps over lazy. You can type in what you want to type as well. I find that's the way that I go for it, and then I press sync if I like it.
Oh, okay. See, I'm learning things from you today.
Let's do it. That's how we roll.
So, because this is a craft workshop, let's just see what would happen to try and make this poster look even more crafty than it already is. So let's just say I'm going to type in, in caps, pink glitter foam. Let's see what comes up. So as you can see here, it's doing its little thing. It's finding it. The machine is working. Here we go. This look, I have to say, I don't know, maybe I'm old school, but this delights me. Every single time there's an AI thing, like I'm delighted by this.
Yeah.
Like I'm like my grandma who only just discovered that there was the internet.
Right.
Like it is really awesome. Like, look at this. There's all these options. And so it's giving you just so many different kinds of pink glitter foam options to choose from. So I kind of love that one. So if you click on that, then it'll change everything, obviously. And this is a really, really unique feature that isn't available in like, I guess, other similar non-Adobe programs of this sort. It's something
Yeah.
that's really, really unique to Adobe. And I think that it's really exciting because the capabilities and like the ability to kind of, I might sit here and create an analog poster and cut these letters out by hand from pink glitter foam and then take a photo of the poster and then print the poster. But I could just do it in here now. So that's kind of exciting,
That's pretty cool.
And there are other sorts of styles and effects that you can play around with here. There's different ways to customize like each individual thing. You can even, like, let's just see what would happen if I tried it in a different color. So let's just do like green glitter foam. Let's see what it brings up for us.
You need to make this a thing. Craft club at the pub. It's great.
Yeah, okay. It's becoming a thing. By the next session,
but you're in Melbourne and I'm in Sydney, so it's not.
Yeah, well, I could do it cross interstate.
We'll get you up here, and we'll
Adobe
sponsored pub crawl. Yeah, I don't know how.
But anyway, like, look at this. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
In all honesty, I'm not sure whether this will end up in the final iteration of our design. You can weigh in, but I thought we might pause here because I want to let us all kind of like go away from this and think about, do we want AI generative text as our main text, or should we keep it a bit more traditional design? What should we do? If you've got any ideas, bring them to the next session, because we will be adding flair. We'll really be customizing this and making it our own. And we're going to be playing around with animation and with, like extra added things from the elements folder, and creating some motifs in Photoshop and working with them in Adobe Express as well. So I might pause there because I think I've shown you so much stuff that you're probably there's a lot that I've just shared.
A lot, yeah.
So let's pause. And if you've got any questions, I guess like now would be a great time for that. And we can get back into this poster design next time.
Cool. I love it. I think it's a great spot to pause. We will be back next week. So same time, same channel, same place, 12 o'clock if you're in Sydney, but whatever the time is where you are an hour ago is when we'll be starting again next week. Alessandra asking in chat. Yeah, it's next Friday, same time. And we'll be back. Thank you so much, Kit. It's always fun hanging out with you. I love exploring Adobe Express in more detail and all of the new features and everything like that. I know Alessandra was saying that pink's her favorite color, so she was enjoying everything then too. Got a pink friend. And don't forget to register for Adobe Max. We haven't spoken about it very much, but Adobe Max registration is open no matter where you are in the world. It's free as always, and there's going to be more amazing artists like Kit joining that lineup, and you can start kind of having a look and planning your schedule because there's going to be so much stuff. Very exciting, all happening again. Where's my outro video? Kit, it's lovely hanging out with you.
I had so much fun, and I hope you all found it inspiring and are kind of keen to explore Adobe Express on your own now. Can't wait to jump back in next week and finish this design together.
Awesome. Thank you, Kit, and everybody, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.